The crystalline dome of the Galactic Council chambers shimmered with emergency alerts, casting crimson shadows across the faces of 200 species representatives. High Counselor Vexera's central tendril trembled as another holographic display winked out of existence, representing the loss of yet another advanced civilization to the quantum plague. "The Centauri network has gone dark," announced the mechanical voice of the Council's quantum AI. "Total technological failure detected across all 67 worlds. Estimated civilian casualties, 4 billion and rising." Dr. Emily Hayes clutched her paper notebook tighter, feeling absurdly conscious of its primitive nature among the assembled galactic elite. As Earth's junior technological advisor, a position that had earned more than a few condescending looks, she hadn't expected to witness the potential end of galactic civilization during her first council session. The massive chamber erupted into chaos. The Proximan delegates' bioluminescent patterns flashed in distress, while the crystalline Aldebarans resonated at frequencies that made Hayes' teeth ache. Through the pandemonium, she noticed something that made her blood run cold. Every advanced system in the room was showing signs of degradation. "The quantum plague is spreading faster than our projections indicated," declared High Counselor Vexera, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Our most advanced civilizations are falling silent, their neural networks corrupted, their quantum computers turned to digital ash. The quantum defense grid has failed. The enlightened worlds are blind. We err." A screech of feedback cut through the chamber as the main holographic display flickered and died. In the sudden darkness, panic threatened to overtake the assembly. Hayes found herself reaching for her pencil, an action that drew bewildered stares from nearby delegates with their neural interfaces and quantum tablets. As the emergency lighting struggled to activate, she began sketching out the pattern of system failures, her graphite scratching against paper in what felt like an ancient ritual among the dying lights of advanced technology. "Impossible," whispered Delegate Zix of the Silicon Consciousness, their photonic matrix dimming in distress. "Our systems are failing faster than we can upgrade them. Each attempt to analyze the plague only accelerates its spread. Even our most basic quantum-based technologies err." The delegate's voice cut off as their photonic matrix flickered dangerously. Hayes watched in horror as other silicon-based delegates began to flicker as well, their very consciousness threatened by the advancing plague. Then she saw it. The pattern in her notebook, drawn with simple graphite on plain paper, revealed something extraordinary. While every quantum-based system was showing signs of corruption, her tablet computer, considered hopelessly primitive by council standards, remained functional. Its hybrid architecture of digital and analog components somehow rendered it immune to the plague's effects. "High Counselor," Hayes called out, her voice steady despite the chaos. She held up her notebook and tablet. "I believe I've noticed something significant. Every failed system shares one characteristic: pure quantum architecture. But hybrid systems, like Earth's technology, remain unaffected." The chamber fell silent as Vexera's primary optical cluster focused on Hayes. "Explain," the High Counselor commanded. "Earth's technological development has been slower than most council worlds." Hayes continued, fighting down her nervousness. "We still use mechanical switches, analog backups, and physical failsafes. Our quantum computing research is decades behind yours. But look." She held up her tablet, its screen glowing steadily. "Our primitive technology is immune to whatever's causing these failures." The Silicon Consciousness delegates' matrices stabilized slightly as they processed this information. "The human speaks truth," Zix announced, their voice stronger. "Our scans show their hybrid systems remain uncorrupted. What we dismissed as technological backwardness may be our last hope," Vexera finished, her tendrils weaving a pattern of deep thought. She raised her primary appendage, commanding the attention of the entire council. "Representatives of Earth, your people's unique technological development may have inadvertently prepared you for this crisis. We require your assistance." Hayes felt the weight of 200 alien gazes upon her as she stood, clutching her paper notebook like a shield. Humanity's first real contribution to galactic civilization would not come from matching their advanced technology, but from showing them the value of holding on to their roots. "Earth stands ready to help," she declared, her voice echoing through the dimming chamber. "Sometimes the best way forward requires a step back." The skies above Cambridge, Massachusetts turned black at exactly 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon. Dr. Emily Hayes watched from her MIT laboratory window as massive ships, each larger than Manhattan, cast shadows that transformed day into twilight. Their hulls shimmered with an oily iridescence that defied Earth's understanding of material science. "Doctor, you need to see this." Her research assistant, Marcus Rodriguez, burst through the lab doors, tablet in hand. "Every network is going crazy. The military's mobilizing. And..." He froze, staring through the window at the impossible ships above. Hayes didn't turn away from the view. "They're not here to attack us, Marcus. They're here because we're the only ones who can help them." The lab's ancient analog phone, kept as a backup system, rang with a harsh mechanical bell. Hayes picked it up, already knowing who it would be. "This is Hayes." "Doctor, there's a presidential transport incoming," said a voice she recognized from the Pentagon briefings. "ETA 5 minutes. You might want to put on a clean lab coat." 17 minutes later, Hayes stood in MIT's main courtyard alongside the President of the United States, watching as a delegation of alien representatives materialized before them. High Counselor Vexera's translucent form towered over the assembled humans, her tendrils weaving patterns of urgent diplomatic greeting. "People of Earth," Vexera's voice resonated through specialized speakers, notably free of quantum technology. "We come seeking your aid in our darkest hour. The galaxy stands on the brink of technological collapse." Hayes stepped forward when the President nodded to her. "Our hybrid systems are still holding," she reported, holding up her tablet. "No signs of corruption in any Earth-based technology. Precisely why we are here." The High Counselor's optical cluster focused on the assembled human technology, phones, tablets, laptops, with their mixture of digital and analog components. "What we once dismissed as primitive may be our salvation. Dr. Hayes, will you show our technical team your laboratory?" The next few hours were surreal. Hayes found herself leading a group of the galaxy's most advanced minds through her outdated lab. The aliens regarded her oscilloscopes and circuit boards with the same fascination she'd once reserved for their quantum processors. "Remarkable," declared Chief Engineer Nix of the Proximan Federation, their bioluminescent patterns pulsing with excitement. "Your systems maintain physical separation between quantum and classical computing components. The plague cannot spread without full quantum entanglement." Hayes pulled up schematics on her laptop, specifically chosen because it wasn't networked. "We developed these hybrid architectures out of necessity. Earth couldn't manufacture pure quantum processors, so we found ways to combine technologies instead." An alarm sounded from one of the aliens' devices. Chief Engineer Nix's patterns shifted to urgent red. "Another system has fallen. The Pleiades network just went dark. 8 billion minds severed from their neural interfaces." Hayes felt the weight of countless lives pressing down on her shoulders. She moved to her workbench, where a prototype hybrid quantum processor lay partially assembled. "I have a theory about why our systems are resistant. Look at this architecture." A burst of static interrupted her. One of the aliens' advanced scanners had tried to interface with Earth's power grid and was now displaying signs of corruption. Hayes lunged for the manual circuit breaker, pulling it before the infection could spread. "This is exactly what we need," Vexera declared, tendrils weaving a pattern of hope. "Your instinct to maintain manual overrides, your insistence on physical failsafes, these are not weaknesses but strengths. Dr. Hayes, we need you to lead a joint human-alien technical team. The fate of galactic civilization depends on understanding and replicating your hybrid technology." Hayes looked around her lab, at the mixture of cutting-edge and obsolete technology that now represented the galaxy's best hope. Through the window, She could see more ships arriving, their massive forms blocking out the stars. "We'll need a bigger lab," she said, already mentally calculating how to scale up Earth's hybrid systems. "And we'll need to move fast." "How long until the plague reaches the core systems?" Vexera's tendrils drooped. "Hours, maybe days. We're about to witness either the end of technological civilization as we know it, or the beginning of something new." Hayes picked up her notebook and a pencil. Sometimes the oldest tools were the best ones for solving new problems. "Then let's get to work." The Dulles Space Center buzzed with activity as humans and aliens worked side by side, surrounded by a peculiar mix of technologies. Dr. Emily Hayes watched as a retired Boeing engineer demonstrated the art of manual wire splicing to a fascinated group of Silicon Consciousness delegates. "You mean you physically connect each circuit?" The crystalline alien's matrix flickered with amazement. "Without quantum entanglement or neural guidance. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways," the engineer replied, his weathered hands steadily connecting delicate wires. "Been doing it this way for 40 years. Never had a quantum plague take down one of my circuits." Hayes smiled at the exchange as she made her way to the main testing chamber. The massive room had been converted into humanity's most important laboratory, where engineers from every Earth nation worked alongside alien scientists to create plague-resistant technology. "Status report," she called out, approaching the central workstation where Marcus Rodriguez was monitoring their latest hybrid prototype. "The conversion's holding steady," he reported, pointing to an old analog gauge beside a holographic display. "We've successfully integrated Earth's mechanical failsafes into the Proximant ship's quantum drive. Even if the plague hits, the backup systems will keep life support and basic navigation online." A commotion from the far side of the chamber drew their attention. One of the alien quantum cores was showing signs of corruption, its crystalline structure beginning to fade. Before anyone could react, a young technician slammed her hand down on a large red button, a physical emergency shutdown switch that would have been considered absurdly primitive just weeks ago. The quantum core went dark, but the rest of the systems remained operational. The mechanical backup systems kicked in with a reassuring hum of actual physical machinery. "That's the third save this week," Hayes noted, making entries in her paper logbook. "The physical switches are proving more reliable than any quantum failsafe." High Counselor Vexera glided into the chamber, her tendrils moving in patterns that Hayes had learned to recognize as deep concern. "The Sirius Collective has fallen," she announced. "Their entire quantum network, corrupted in minutes, but their evacuation ships, the ones retrofitted with your hybrid systems, remained operational. They managed to save 60% of the population." Hayes nodded grimly. "How many ships do we have converted so far?" 327, Marcus answered, checking his tablet. "The assembly lines in China and India are working around the clock, manufacturing mechanical components. Brazilian engineers have restored 20 old spacecraft, retrofitting them with hybrid systems." "It's still not enough," Hayes muttered, studying the star chart that showed the plague's spread. Red zones of technological death were expanding across the galaxy, while green points marked the locations of successfully converted ships and stations. "Dr. Hayes," called out Dr. Sarah Williams, their quantum physics expert, from her workstation. "I think you need to see this. We've been analyzing the plague's behavior using that mechanical computer you suggested. You know, the one built with actual gears and switches." Hayes hurried over, followed by Vexera. The mechanical computer clicked and whirred, its brass gears turning as it processed data in a way that would have seemed laughably outdated months ago. But its output was clear and uncorrupted. "Look at this pattern." Williams pointed to the printout. "Actual ink on actual paper. The plague isn't just corrupting technology. It's learning from it. Every quantum system it infects makes it more sophisticated, but it can't learn from our hybrid systems because they're too simple to provide it with new information." Hayes finished, excitement building in her voice. "It's like trying to hack a pencil. Our primitive technology isn't just immune, it's invisible to the plague's evolution. Vexera's tendrils wove a pattern of revelation. Then perhaps the solution isn't to match the plague's complexity, but to embrace simplicity, Hayes concluded. She turned to address the chamber. I need every engineer who still knows how to build unpowered mechanical computers, every technician who can wire a circuit by hand, every programmer who understands machine code. She picked up a piece of chalk, sometimes the oldest tools were still the best, and began writing on a blackboard, sketching out a new design. We're going to build something the plague has never seen before, she announced. Something so primitive it's advanced, and we're going to use it to save the galaxy. The starship Freedom burst through the quantum storm surrounding the Centauri colonies, its hybrid systems humming with steady power, while the wreckage of advanced ships floated lifelessly around it. In the command center, Dr. Emily Hayes monitored the analog backup systems as warning lights flashed across the manual control panel. Quantum interference at 70%. Marcus called out from his station, reading from a mechanical gauge. But the shielding is holding. Mechanical systems are all in the green. Through the reinforced viewport, Hayes could see the surface of Nova Centauri, once a jewel of technological achievement. Now its quantum towers stood dark, their neural networks corrupted by the plague. Millions of colonists were trapped below, their advanced life support systems failing. Beginning descent, announced Captain Sarah Rodriguez, using physical controls that would have been considered museum pieces just months ago. Engineering, ready those hybrid shuttles. We've got a lot of people to evacuate. The Freedom had been built in record time, a testament to human ingenuity and desperation. Its hull contained layers of mechanical switches and analog circuits sandwiched between quantum shielding. Every system had a manual backup, every computer a mechanical failsafe. First wave of shuttles launching, Marcus reported. Ground teams report the colony's basic infrastructure is still intact. Their old emergency systems were too simple for the plague to corrupt. Hayes watched the shuttles descend, their hybrid engines leaving trails in the quantum-infected atmosphere. Each one could carry 100 colonists to safety, assuming they could convince people to leave their advanced neural interfaces behind. Doctor, called Lieutenant Chen from the sensor station. I'm picking up something strange on the mechanical scanners. The plague. It's moving differently here. Hayes hurried over, her boots clicking on the metal deck plates. The mechanical scanner, essentially a sophisticated Geiger counter, was showing unusual patterns in the quantum interference. It's not random, she muttered, pulling out her notebook. As she sketched the pattern, a chill ran down her spine. These are deliberate sequences, complex but regular, like code. Marcus finished, looking over her shoulder. But who would code a plague that destroys advanced technology? Before Hayes could respond, the ship's old-style radio crackled to life. Freedom, this is Ground Team Alpha. We've got problems down here. The colonists, their neural implants are completely fused. We're having trouble disconnecting them safely. Captain Rodriguez turned to Hayes. Can we risk using the quantum medical equipment? Hayes shook her head. Too dangerous. But she thought of the mechanical medical tools they'd brought along, considered primitive by galactic standards. Tell the medical team to use the manual extractor units. Sometimes you have to go backward to move forward. Hours passed in a blur of rescue operations. The Freedom's hybrid shuttles worked tirelessly, ferrying colonists to safety while the plague raged around them. Hayes divided her attention between monitoring the ship's systems and studying the strange patterns in the plague's behavior. Last shuttle incoming, Marcus announced finally. We've got 8,000 colonists aboard. It's not everyone, but it's 8,000 more than would have survived otherwise. Hayes finished. She stared at the pattern she'd drawn. Captain, before we leave, I need to check something. Can we get closer to the colony's central archive? Captain Rodriguez raised an eyebrow, but nodded. The Freedom moved through the quantum storm, its hybrid systems steady while all around them. The remnants of pure quantum technology lay dead in space. As they approached the archive, Hayes's mechanical sensors went wild. The pattern became clearer, stronger. She could see it now, a deliberate sequence hidden within the plague's chaos. This isn't a natural phenomenon. She breathed, the realization hitting her like a physical blow. The plague. It's not just destroying technology, it's searching for something. These patterns, they're like query strings in a database. Marcus leaned in, his eyes widening as he saw what she meant. Are you saying? The plague isn't just a virus, Hayes said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. It's a tool. Someone made this, and I think I know where we need to go next to find out why. The Freedom turned away from the dying colony, its holds full of refugees and its computers filled with data that might just explain why the galaxy was being forced to turn back its technological clock. As they jumped to safety, Hayes couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to uncover something that would change their understanding not just of the plague, but of galactic history itself. The abandoned archive of the Epsilon system loomed before them, a massive structure carved into the face of a dead moon. The Freedom's hybrid engines pulsed quietly as they approached, their mechanical components humming in harmony with carefully shielded quantum cores. Dr. Emily Hayes stood at the main viewport, studying the ancient facility through old-fashioned optical telescopes. The archive's quantum systems had gone dark weeks ago, but deep radar scans showed something still active in its core, something that predated the current plague. Those markings, Marcus said, pointing to geometric patterns etched into the moon's surface. They're not from any civilization in the Council database. Because they're older, Hayes replied, checking readings on her mechanical sensors. Much older. The quantum signature here matches patterns we found in the plague's code, but it's pure somehow. Undeveloped. Captain Rodriguez guided the Freedom into a docking position using manual thrusters. Whatever answers we're looking for, they're in there. But we've got 6 hours before the plague front reaches this system. Hayes led the exploration team through the airlock, their hybrid environmental suits equipped with both quantum sensors and mechanical backups. The archive's corridors were vast, designed for beings far larger than humans, and lined with data crystals that had gone dark with age. Look at this, Dr. Williams called out, her handheld scanner, built from pre-quantum technology, detecting faint energy signatures. These crystals aren't dead. They're in some kind of dormant state. Hayes approached a central console, its surface covered in dust that might have lain undisturbed for millions of years. She brushed it away, revealing controls that seemed designed for appendages very different from human hands. The system's still operational, she muttered, connecting their hybrid interface. It's just waiting. The ancient machinery stirred to life, responding to their primitive technology in a way it never would have to pure quantum systems. Holographic displays flickered into existence, showing star maps that dated back to before most current civilizations had achieved spaceflight. By all the stars, Marcus breathed, reading the data streaming across his screen. This facility, it's some kind of monitoring station. These readings go back millions of years. Hayes felt her heart race as the pieces began falling into place. It's not just monitoring, she said, her voice tight with realization. It's waiting. Watching for something specific. She pointed to a repeating pattern in the data stream. Look familiar. Williams leaned in, her eyes widening. It matches the plague's signature perfectly. But these readings are from before the plague appeared. Because this is where it came from, Hayes said, her fingers flying over the hybrid interface. This whole facility was designed to release the plague under specific conditions, when galactic civilization reached a certain level of quantum integration. A new hologram appeared, showing beings of pure energy moving through quantum fields. The recording was ancient, but its message was clear, a civilization that had evolved beyond physical form, merging completely with their technology. They destroyed themselves, Marcus whispered, watching the recording. Their consciousness spread through their quantum networks until they lost all connection to physical reality. And they didn't want it to happen again. Hayes finished. She pointed to another data stream. This plague isn't meant to destroy civilization. It's meant to prevent quantum technology from advancing beyond a certain point, to force species to maintain a connection to physical reality. Warning alarms blared through their suits. The plague front was approaching faster than predicted. But Hayes barely noticed, her attention fixed on one final piece of data scrolling across her screen. Earth's development path, she said, her voice filled with wonder. Our mix of quantum and physical technology. It's exactly what they were trying to achieve. We accidentally created the perfect balance they were hoping to enforce. Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled over the comm. Whatever you found, we need to go. Plague Front will be here in 20 minutes. Hayes quickly began downloading the ancient data to their hybrid storage systems. As they rushed back to the Freedom, she couldn't help but smile at the irony. Earth's technological limitations, long considered a weakness by the galactic community, had turned out to be its greatest strength. We're not just fighting the plague anymore, she announced as they lifted off from the ancient facility. We're fulfilling its original purpose, teaching the galaxy how to advance without losing touch with its roots. Behind them, the archive began to power down, its mission finally complete after millions of years of patient waiting. The Freedom jumped to safety just as the plague front arrived, carrying with it the knowledge that would change the course of galactic civilization forever. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology had become an unlikely melting pot of galactic civilization. In what was once the main gymnasium, thousands of engineers from Earth worked alongside alien scientists, surrounded by a bizarre combination of quantum computers and mechanical calculators. Dr. Emily Hayes stood at the center of this controlled chaos, her paper notebook filled with calculations that bridged the gap between ancient warnings and modern salvation. The data they'd recovered from the archive had confirmed their theories and pointed toward a solution. The plague isn't trying to destroy advanced technology, she explained to the assembled team leaders. It's trying to force balance, and we're going to help it. Behind her, a massive hybrid processor occupied half the room. Unlike the pure quantum computers of advanced civilizations, this one incorporated mechanical components, analog circuits, and even a section of brass gears that would have looked at home in a 19th century calculator. Each time we've successfully resisted the plague, Hayes continued, it's been because our systems maintain physical connections. Now we're going to use that principle to create a cure. Marcus Rodriguez stepped forward, holding up a modified circuit board. We've adapted Earth's hybrid architecture based on the ancient data. This isn't just about protecting systems anymore. It's about teaching them to think differently. High Counselor Vexeris Tendrils moved in a pattern of cautious hope. You believe you can modify existing quantum networks to accept this hybrid approach. Better than that, Hayes replied, moving to the hybrid processor. We're going to introduce controlled chaos into the quantum systems. The plague seeks out perfect quantum integration and disrupts it. But if we deliberately maintain a certain level of uncertainty, of physical randomness, the plague will recognize it as safe. Dr. Williams finished, her eyes lighting up with understanding, like teaching a body to recognize friendly bacteria. The next few hours were intense. Hayes coordinated teams working on different aspects of the cure. Engineers modifying quantum processors with mechanical components, programmers writing code that deliberately incorporated analog elements, and specialists designing implementation protocols that could be rolled out across infected systems. A shout from the testing area drew everyone's attention. One of the alien scientists, a crystalline being from the Silicon consciousness, had successfully integrated the hybrid technology into their own matrix. The quantum plague attempted to corrupt my systems, they announced, their voice filled with wonder. But the mechanical randomizers redirected it. My consciousness remains intact while maintaining quantum capabilities. Hayes rushed to check the readings, her heart pounding. The hybrid system wasn't just protecting against the plague. It was teaching the quantum networks a new way to process information, one that maintained crucial connections to physical reality. "This is it," she breathed, looking at the data. The perfect balance between advancement and stability. Exactly what the ancients were trying to achieve. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. The plague front had reached the outer edges of the solar system, its quantum tendrils probing Earth's defenses. "We need to move faster," Hayes announced, her voice cutting through the panic. "Begin mass production of the hybrid processors. Priority goes to defensive systems and essential infrastructure. Marcus, start uploading the modification protocols to our converted ships." The room erupted into coordinated activity. Earth's factories, already running at full capacity, began churning out the components needed for the hybrid systems. Space stations around the planet prepared for the largest technological transformation in human history. Dr. Hayes called out Captain Rodriguez from her communication station. "The Council ships are reporting successful integration of the hybrid systems. They're ready to begin implementing the cure across infected space." Hayes looked around the room at humans and aliens working together, using technology that spanned millions of years of development. From the mechanical calculators that had inspired their solution to the quantum processors, they were now teaching to think more like humans. Every piece had its place. The ancients didn't fail, she realized, watching the hybrid processor perform its calculations. They succeeded. They just needed someone to remember the importance of keeping one foot on the ground while reaching for the stars. She picked up her notebook, turning to a fresh page. The real work was just beginning. Not just saving civilization, but teaching it a new way to grow. As the plague approached Earth, Hayes smiled. Sometimes the best way to fight fire wasn't with fire, but with the wisdom to control it. The Starship Freedom led a fleet of 1,000 hybrid-converted vessels through the quantum storm surrounding the Centauri core networks. Dr. Emily Hayes stood on the bridge, watching as the massive rescue operation unfolded across multiple star systems simultaneously. First wave of ships entering the Proxima system, Marcus reported from his station, monitoring both digital displays and analog gauges. Hybrid shields holding at 97% efficiency. The view through the reinforced windows was breathtaking and terrifying. Quantum lightning crackled across space itself, while the plague's digital tendrils reached for their ships like hungry serpents. But where pure quantum vessels would have fallen silent, their hybrid fleet pushed forward, protected by their unique blend of technologies. "Beginning broadcast of the cure protocols," Hayes announced, initiating the sequence they'd developed at MIT. The hybrid processors hummed to life, sending out waves of carefully controlled chaos into the infected networks. Captain Rodriguez studied the tactical display, where green dots represented their ships spreading out across the affected systems. "The Sirius colony is responding to the cure. Their quantum grid is stabilizing with the hybrid modifications." Hayes moved to the central console, where a mechanical keyboard interfaced with quantum controls. This was the moment of truth, the implementation of everything they'd learned from the ancient archive. "Look," Dr. Williams called out from her station. "The plague is actually helping spread the cure. It's recognizing our hybrid patterns as the stable state it was programmed to enforce." Through the windows, they could see the quantum lightning changing color, shifting from angry red to a peaceful blue as the cure took hold. Dead systems began to flicker back to life, but differently now, more stable, more grounded in physical reality. "We've got incoming transmissions," Marcus announced, his voice thick with emotion. "The Proximan colonies. They're back online. The neural networks are functioning with the hybrid protocols." Hayes allowed herself a small smile. The ancients knew what they were doing. They just needed someone to remember the importance of balance. A warning alarm cut through the moment of victory. "New quantum surge detected in the Epsilon sector," Captain Rodriguez reported. "It's the largest concentration of the plague we've seen yet." "That's the main server hub for the Silicon consciousness," Hayes realized. "If it falls, we lose a third of the galaxy's quantum infrastructure." She straightened her back, decision made. take us in." The Freedom turned toward the massive quantum storm, its hybrid engines pulsing with steady power. Other ships fell into formation behind them, human ingenuity leading the charge to save an advanced civilization. "All hands, prepare for quantum turbulence," Rodriguez announced as they entered the storm. The ship shuddered as forces beyond normal physics battered their shields. Hayes worked furiously at her console, adjusting the cure protocols for the unique architecture of the silicon consciousness. Around her, human crew members operated their stations with practiced efficiency, using technology that ranged from cutting-edge quantum processors to mechanical switches. "Broadcasting modified cure sequence," she announced. "Marcus, route more power to the mechanical stabilizers. Williams, monitor the quantum feedback loops." Through the storm, they could see the massive servers of the silicon consciousness, vast crystalline structures that housed billions of digital minds. As the cure protocols reached them, the crystals began to pulse with new light, accepting the hybrid modifications. "It's working," Marcus breathed. "The consciousness matrices are stabilizing. They're adapting to the hybrid architecture." Hayes watched as the quantum storm began to dissipate, replaced by the steady blue glow of cured systems. Across the galaxy, other human-led teams were achieving similar victories, teaching advanced technology to embrace its connection to physical reality. "We're getting a transmission from the silicon consciousness," Rodriguez announced. They say they can think more clearly now. The hybrid systems aren't just protecting them. They're helping them evolve in a new direction." Hayes looked out at the stars, where thousands of ships crewed by humans and aliens worked together to spread the cure. Earth's supposed technological backwardness had turned out to be exactly what the galaxy needed, a reminder that true advancement meant keeping one foot in the past while stepping into the future. "Send word to all ships," she ordered. "Phase 1 is complete. Let's finish what the ancients started and bring balance back to the galaxy." 1 year after the quantum plague crisis, the rebuilt Galactic Council chamber hummed with a different kind of energy. Dr. Emily Hayes stood at the central podium, surrounded by representatives from 1,000 worlds, her simple paper notebook still in hand, a symbol of the balance that had saved civilization. The chamber itself reflected the galaxy's transformation. Quantum processors worked alongside mechanical systems, holographic displays were backed by physical controls, and even the silicon consciousness delegates maintained their new hybrid matrices, their crystalline forms glowing with a warmer, more grounded light. "The integration is complete," Hayes announced, her voice carrying across the vast space. "The last of the affected systems have been converted to hybrid architecture. The plague has recognized our technological balance and gone dormant, exactly as the ancients intended." High Counselor Vexeris Tendrils moved in a pattern of deep satisfaction. "Humanity has not just saved us, they have shown us a better path. Our civilizations have become too detached from physical reality, too dependent on pure quantum integration." Marcus Rodriguez, now Earth's chief representative to the Council's technology division, brought up a display showing the galaxy's transformed infrastructure. Green points of light represented successfully converted systems, forming a vast network of stable, hybrid technology. "The ancient archives data has been fully translated," he reported. "Their warnings about the dangers of unchecked technological advancement have been incorporated into the new galactic technical standards. Every system now maintains crucial physical connections, while pushing the boundaries of quantum innovation." Dr. Williams stepped forward, her own hybrid tablet displaying the latest research. "We're seeing unexpected benefits from the hybrid approach. The controlled chaos elements we introduced to counter the plague have led to breakthroughs in quantum computing we never thought possible. By maintaining connections to physical reality, we've actually enhanced our ability to explore quantum space." The chamber's displays shifted to show the new Galactic Institute of Innovation, built in orbit around Earth. The massive station combined architecture from 100 worlds, its design embodying the principle of technological harmony that humanity had championed. "Earth's position in the galaxy has changed," Hayes continued, looking around at the assembled delegates. But we haven't forgotten our roots. Every advancement we make is grounded in practical wisdom, every leap forward balanced by proven foundations. Captain Rodriguez, recently promoted to Admiral of the new hybrid fleet, appeared on the main screen from the Bridge of the Freedom. The converted ships have proven more capable than pure quantum vessels ever were. We're exploring regions of space that were previously too unstable for our advanced technology. The galaxy has opened up in ways we never expected. Hayes smiled as she watched the delegates interact. Species that once looked down on Earth's primitive technology now sent their brightest minds to study at human universities, learning the art of balancing innovation with reliability. But our greatest achievement, she said, drawing the chamber's attention back to her, isn't in the technology we've created. It's in the lesson we've learned together. The ancients didn't fail when they created the plague. They succeeded in ensuring that future civilizations would find the right balance between progress and wisdom. She held up her notebook, its pages filled with the calculations that had helped save the galaxy. This simple tool, alongside our most advanced quantum computers, represents who we are now. We reach for the stars without letting go of the ground beneath us. We embrace the future without forgetting the lessons of the past. The chamber erupted in the various signs of approval unique to each species: flashing lights, resonant hums, and waving appendages. The silicon consciousness delegates pulsed with colors that represented deep satisfaction, their hybrid matrices allowing them to experience emotions in new ways. The next great age of galactic civilization begins today, Hayes concluded, watching as Earth's sun rose over the horizon, visible through the chamber's crystalline dome. Not as a single species reaching for the impossible, but as a community of worlds remembering that the possible is extraordinary enough. Around her, the chamber's hybrid systems hummed with steady power, a testament to humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy: the wisdom to know that true progress meant keeping one foot firmly planted while reaching for the stars.